Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Donnelly. The Spirits Educator is a digital education platform and trade resource for the distilled spirits industry. My aim is to provide in-depth spirits information, brand transparency, and category education for distributor sales teams, service industry and hospitality members, and motivated enthusiasts. I currently work for a major wine and spirits distributor, but my work here on the Spirits Educator is completely unaffiliated with my current employer. Welcome back to another episode of my What's the Difference series, where I take two spirits products that may appear very similar to consumers and compare how they're different. Today I'm going to be comparing Yellowstone Toasted with Yellowstone Rum Cask. Alright, next I have the Yellowstone Toasted. Here's what the label looks like. Here's the back. Here's the bottle, and then you can see the embossed etched glass, which I think is really cool. The Yellowstone Toasted was the first release in the Special Finishes collection. This product starts as the 4-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, distilled from a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley, used for the Yellowstone Select label. Next, the bourbon is finished with toasted staves for an undisclosed period of time. The brand offers little transparency on this product, but they do tell us that they use at least 5 different toasted style staves. The staves used for the second finishing are described as high toast, American oak double toast, high vanilla, rick house, and spice rack staves. The final product is bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. Yellowstone Toasted won a double gold medal at the 2024 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And if you're unfamiliar with the double gold rank at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, this means that it was a unanimous blind gold. So when you win double gold, my understanding of that means that it was a unanimous gold issue, and all the tasting is done blind, of course. San Francisco World Spirits Competition is the most important spirits competition in my opinion, and to win double gold at San Francisco, especially recently, is really, really important and really, really special. I want to provide a general explanation for toasted finished bourbons because they seem to be so popular these days. Every brand seems to be releasing a toasted label. So in this, I'm going to be speaking in general. Once a base bourbon has reached the target flavor profile, additional wooden staves are added inside the barrel for a specific period of time. For Yellowstone Toasted, the company does not tell us how long they are finishing this product. The added staves have been toasted for particular lengths of time to generate ideal flavors they might impart in the final whiskey. So, for example, a specific toasted method might develop a strong vanilla or coffee flavor in the whiskey. Usually a producer will add a combination of staves imparting different types of oak flavors, and hopefully this creates a greater sense of complexity by building all these different flavors. A good example of this is with the Maker's Stave Select series. I forget what they call this, but it's basically Maker's Mark store pick or customer pick program. So rather than doing like a true single barrel, the customer can choose a target flavor profile for these certain stave combinations. So the way they toast each stave will impart a certain flavor, and then you're building out a total greater flavor profile using all these different styles of toasted stave. Because I love the way, as I mentioned earlier, I love the way the companies write their tasting notes. So I'm going to read the tasting notes for the Yellowstone Toasted. The nose is toasted caramel, vanilla, with hints of fall spices and cinnamon. The palate is walnut, toffee, black tea, and white pepper. And the finish is cocoa and tobacco with a crisp oak finish. All right, back to autofocus. All right, the tasting notes on the nose for the Yellowstone Toasted are toasted caramel, vanilla, and hints of fall spice and cinnamon. I would definitely say caramel and vanilla, and there's some baking spices in there. I would say that's a not too far off from the way they're written. I would say this probably has the same intensity as the Yellowstone Select. Again, it's got a nice nose, but it's not exactly jumping out of the glass. All right, the palate is described as walnut, toffee, black tea, and white pepper. Oh yeah, I can definitely see on the palate, there's like this certain intensity. It's definitely this product compared to the Yellowstone Select, big difference on the palate. And, there is that kind of nutty toffee, like I can definitely see that. But that black tea, I think that's a kind of a great descriptor. There's this certain tannic intensity, but not in a bad way. Like the flavor's definitely there. And then the kind of pop of white pepper. So not exactly black pepper, but that kind of brighter white pepper. That's really tasty. Definitely really tasty. And I think the way the product actually delivers compared to the way these tasting notes are written are not too far off. Super tasty. Very impressed. And the finish is described as cocoa and tobacco with a crisp oak finish. There's definitely that secondary toasting you get on this. There's definitely like a few more layers of complexity, a few more layers of flavor. And it's the more intense version of these stereotypical bourbon flavors. So, that kind of tobacco, they say crisp oak, it's definitely oaky, but in a good way. Like there's definitely that strong oak influence, but in a way that's very well integrated, and it works. And it's super tasty, super drinkable. Let me find my pricing. All right, the Toasted. So this product... Oh, and just touching on proof. So the Toasted is 100 proof versus I think the original is 93. So that bump in proof, I think, gives you a bit more flavor. And I mean, you could drink that and not know. If you like bourbon and you're used to drinking bourbon, you could drink the Toasted at 100 proof. It doesn't even taste like it's 100 proof. The alcohol proof is really well integrated with the flavors. And then obviously alcohol contains flavor. So the higher the proof, the more flavor, more concentration of flavor you're going to get. So the pricing for the Yellowstone Toasted in my home market of Oklahoma, let's just call it somewhere between $39 and $42. And I definitely think that the flavor of this product, along with the packaging and everything else that goes along, I definitely think this product could justify that $40 price point. Again, at $40, ton of great options, ton of bang for your buck options. I think consumers have earned the right to be really, really picky in particular at that $40 and up price point because there's so many incredible options. And I think if you paid $40 for this product, you would not be disappointed. All right, the next product is the Yellowstone Rum Cask, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in rum barrels. This bottle I do actually have on hand. So here's what the bottle looks like. Here's the label. You can see a different landmark from the Yellowstone National Park featured on the label. And there's that rum cast. Here's the back. The Yellowstone Rum Cask is the second release in the Special Finishes collection. At the time of this video, which is October 2024, this is the newest release from the brand. The product starts as a 4-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey distilled from a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley, used for the Yellowstone Select. Next, the bourbon is cask finished for 9 weeks in rum barrels sourced from Havana, Cuba. And the final product is bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. And the tasting notes for this product are a nose of gingerbread, poached pear, and fresh cut hay. Can't beat that. The palate is toasted marshmallow, creme brulee, toffee, and toasted oak. And the finish is tobacco, clove, cocoa seasoned oak with a long honey finish. That's got to be the best job. Whoever's job it is to write tasting notes for bourbon brands, you got it made. Next is the Yellowstone rum cask, and I actually have a brand new bottle here. Fresh bottle. All right, the nose is described on this as gingerbread, poached pear, and fresh cut hay. Don't know if I've ever had poached pear, but let's see. I would say this definitely has the kind of the same levels of intensity of the first couple. Even the rum cask finishing doesn't give this a bigger, more intense nose. I could definitely see this flavor could be described as gingerbread. Not sure if I'm getting the poached pear, but fresh cut hay. Yeah, I could believe that. Now let's look at the palate. The palate is described as toasted marshmallow, creme brulee, toffee, and toasted oak. Oh yeah, that's big on the palate. I would say even bigger than the toasted. I would say toasted marshmallow, creme brulee, toffee, and toasted oak. One could easily find those flavors in this product. It's big on the palate. It's not boozy at all at 100 proof. The alcohol is very well integrated. The flavors. A lot of times I find with Cask-Finished product, the finish, kind of whitewashes the base. It's too much of the second barrel. And I've noticed for the toasted is a little more subtle flavors. But rum cask, the rum cask flavor on this, I think is really well integrated. It doesn't whitewash the base flavors. You still feel like you're drinking a bourbon. There is that extra little something. I wouldn't even be, if I was tasting this blind, I don't know if I'd be able to pick out that this was a rum cask. There's just a little something extra on the palate that can't quite describe. And so I could totally see how that they did a good job on doing the cask finishing where it adds an extra layer of flavor and adds some more complexity without just completely whitewashing the base flavors. So that's really tasty, super drinkable. So let me check my pricing. All right, so in Oklahoma, the toasted finish and the rum cask finish are line price. So for the rum cask, you're looking at $39 to $42 in Oklahoma. Every market has different pricing, so please check your local liquor store. But let's just call this a $40 bottle of bourbon, a $40 bottle of whiskey, and I definitely think for $40, this definitely is worth it. I think it's interesting. I think it's tasty. And I think anyone could pay $40 for this and feel very happy with their purchase. Oh, I didn't even get into the finish. So tobacco, the finish on this is described as tobacco, clove, cocoa seasoned oak with a long honey finish. And I think there's a good finish on this. I don't think it's overly long, but it's got a good finish. And I think you could easily find these flavors, tobacco, clove, cocoa seasoned oak, and a long honeyed finish. And I'm sure that long honey finish is that touch of stereotypical sweetness, you might get with rum. I'm not sure if they're using a dry rum or sweetened rum, but it's got a nice finish, and the flavors on the finish are slightly different than when it first hits your palate. Usually when you drink a complex spirit, just like with a wine, the flavors hit your palate in a wave, and you might get something at first, and then it fades into a second flavor, third flavor, fourth flavor, and then the flavors on the finish might be very different, or they might be the same, but they might be very different than those initial 1, 2, 3 flavors that you get on your palate. And obviously, in your mouth, on your palate, you're going to taste flavors differently. The way something tastes on your cheeks, the back of your tongue, the front of your tongue, the roof of your mouth, all might be a little different. And so when judging the complexity of a spirit, you want to think like, does this kind of cascading wave of flavors, does it work? Does it all work together? Does it flow together? Is it harmonious? And I definitely think on the rum cask finish, it definitely does. I I like I like Cask-Finished whiskey, but sometimes you should be a little skeptical because sometimes it just ends up being like, take for example, sherry. Pedro Jimenez, a sweet style of sherry, is a very popular Cask-Finish, and sometimes something's just a sherry bomb, and it just whitewashes the base product, and all you can taste is that sherry finish, and I don't find that attractive. I don't think that tastes very good. I don't find complexity in that. Just, a lot of time people use cask finishings not to add complexity, but to hide or mask whiskey that is just too young and not ready for bottling. But they want to try to cover it up and get it on the market so they can start earning some money. So, but rum cask finish, I haven't had it since it was first released. It was the rum cask finish is the newest product released by Yellowstone. I think it's really tasty, and I think it is worth $40. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video enjoyable and informative. Please give it a like and consider subscribing. If you'd like to be notified when I have new content on my website or this YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to my email newsletter. I'll include a link below in the description. And if you'd like to support this channel further, please consider becoming a Patreon member or gift me a cocktail to the link below in the description. Thank you so much again for watching, and please drink responsibly.